Hello, everybody. This is Paola Guthrie from Creating Purpose with Pau. I welcome you all to the Spanglish World Network and H.E.R Network on Zingo TV channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app on the respective app stores. While you download it, please make sure you rate it, you leave a comment, and let us know how we're doing. The app is totally free. Zingo TV is available in Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also in all the smart TVs from 2016 and forward. Thank you so much for being here. And today I welcome Adriana Giraldo. She is a growth mindset leadership coach. And I am so happy because we're going to share a great conversation. So thank you for being here, Adriana.
Thank you for having me here, Paul. I'm so excited to be here.
So please share, a little bit about you so we get to know you more.
Yeah, definitely. So I consider myself a body and mindset leader and educator. I the modalities are various. I don't focus on one modality. I consider myself being a simple human that is passionate about the human being, and about exploring their potentiality. It's my passion encompasses movement, nutrition, just being in connection. And many people call it mind, body, spirit, and soul, but mainly those four buckets. And I'm really excited in terms of what things that have come up lately in terms of neuroscience, in terms of bringing all modalities and now into the light. So this is just great time for us.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
please share with us, you know, where did you find the purpose to follow this career?
Oh, I love that question. So life in general. So all its transitions, these reiterations, right? From adjusting to coming from another culture, from health and mental challenges that I had to face myself, and career burned out. I spent almost 20 years in the corporate world, and all those made me realize that I was not fully my living potential, my full potential. I was living. There was more to life than what I was currently doing, and I personally believe that at some point we all go through this, and at different stages, right? And some people call it midlife crisis, some people call it different thing, but at some point we all ask ourselves, like, what the heck am I doing? What I'm doing makes sense? Am I happy, or am I ever gonna get there? And there's a lot of reiterations in terms of that question. So, and the difference is between, and it's not about whoever is willing to take action or not, but it's actually acknowledging that, hey, things are not working. And I think that's the hardest piece, is many times coming to you know facing that reality, that is like, yeah, things that I thought were working and were supposed to be working, because in the eyes of everybody else they're supposed to be working, they're not working for me anymore. So, my decision to pursue my passion was sincerely because I got tired of just living somebody else's life. In the eyes of everybody, we tend to compare ourselves, right? And yes, I had everything, and everything seemed to be working, yet what I was doing was not fulfilling my cup. So that's what I decided to do, and then take that transition.
And I know it was hard because you had to debate, like what you already built
Right.
versus to like, okay,
Hmm.
I have to start a new career.
Hmm.
So what helped you? Because sometimes we know, but
Hmm.
in order for us to make the decision
Hmm.
to take action, what was the catalyst that said, okay, I'm gonna do it?
Oh my gosh. So for me, the biggest catalyst was being very clear that I no longer wanted to do that. And I think that's the first step, because we're all aware what we don't want, right? We don't
Mhm.
want this, we don't want that. We are very aware of what we're running away from. So that became very clear. And I think that's what I wasn't clear about, right? I thought things were all the decisions that we're making were because I wanted to do them. But in reality, I was just moving away from things. I was running away from things that I didn't want to get, repeated. So it was not until I came to that realization that, like, you know what, I really want to go towards what I actually want. The biggest catalyst was to always show up. Didn't matter. Show up for myself. And it sometimes is hard. I'm not gonna lie, because it's many times you don't know what to do. You don't know what answers, what questions to ask, if you're doing the right thing. Also managing, that balance of you pursuing your career and what you want, and also managing, the challenges at home, right? All the shifts, all the things have to change too. It's not like, hey, I'm now gonna pursue my passion, I'm just gonna do what I want, and this is gonna make me happy. It's also how to balance that and say, okay, this is not only a transition for me, but also for my support system, and being as clear and transparent to that, and believing that yes, it might take time, but not shifting and pivoting like, yeah, maybe no, maybe yes. No, go for it. And I think that's the biggest piece.
That's awesome that you have a good support system, and that you've seen, like, this is not for me anymore. It's not fulfilling. I have to show up for who I am, because whenever I truly believe that whenever you show up for yourself,
Hmm.
then you are filling up that cup, and then you can show up even better for your loved ones.
Yeah.
That
And
that
hmm and
Go
that's
ahead.
exactly right. No, thank you for bringing that up, because this is the other thing. One of the other motivators for me was I was not showing up not only for myself, but for my family as well. So if things start not going right into areas
Hmm.
of, of your life, then that's when things you
Hmm.
need to start looking at things like, okay, your relationships are also not working, or they're not working in the way they used to work before, the way you want them. So what's
Hmm.
happening? And I think that was also the biggest realization, is like, yeah, things gotta change now.
Yes, and I bring this up because I I admire Simon Sinek, for example.
Mhm.
He's a
Yeah.
huge role model for me to follow. But his idea, he says, no, it's like you have to help others first. But that's
Hmm.
his story. He was
Right.
probably already a step ahead of me. So
Hmm.
he began helping a friend, coaching a friend, and that's how he figured out that your purpose. That's how he
Hmm.
found his purpose, by helping
Hmm.
others. So
Hmm.
it's just your story and my story are similar, and it doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's just, it means that that's
Exactly.
how we found the light.
Exactly.
So I just
That's such a beautiful piece, because this is the thing. Our story, everybody's story is different. And this is kind of one of the biggest, I think, challenge personal development and personal growth faces, is thinking that we all starting from the same point. We don't. We start from a different point, from a different, from different support systems. And I'm not talking, not even, financial resources. I'm talking internal resources. We're all starting from a different place. And it's when we start comparing ourselves, like, well, maybe I could have, or maybe I should have, or maybe this is what I, well, no, not really, because our stories are completely different, our backgrounds are completely different, our experiences, everything else is different. And it's when we try to accommodate our story to somebody else's when we get lost.
That's beautiful. I'm glad you
Mhm.
brought that up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because it got me confused when I listened to
Hmm.
his story. And I'm talking about Simon Sinek, he talks and he says, stop, thinking about me, 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 me. He said, stop saying five steps to be happy. He's like, no, begin to think of how you can make others happy, which I
Hmm.
totally, was like, yeah, let's, because when you make other people happy and you serve others, you release
Hmm.
naturally that dopamine that is going to
Hmm.
make you feel, fulfilled for that moment, for the
Right.
action that you're doing. I totally get it. But I'm like, hey, buddy, my story is different. I had to, I had to get the help. Somebody helped me and gave me the light.
Hmm.
And that's why my story is, and what I like to share is similar to you. Is like, I had to uh, pour love to myself first in order for me to
Mhm.
continue to go and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and have the strength, because your support system might say, yes, go for it. But outside your support system, they might look at it's like, did she hit her head? I don't know
I
if you
know.
ever felt that.
What is she doing?
What is she doing? Yes,
What
yes.
is she doing?
So, so on your coaching, what is the most common challenge that you see that people have?
So there are two main things that I've seen over and over again, and this could be coming from people that are in the corporate world or with entrepreneurs. I work a lot with entrepreneurs as well, and this goes back to identity, and then which it bleeds into career and purpose, right? And the reason why I say it bleeds is because, so a lot of people think that career is separate from from who you are, but there's an unconscious belief, there's an unconscious programming that we all run in background, especially in the US. In different cultures, a little bit a little different. So the biggest thing is their sense of identity, who they are. So yet, and now, and we're talking about people that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, even 70s. They're like, I don't even know who I want. Like, now I want to be who I want to be. I don't know who I am. And they're starting to asking questions that seem so basic and so simple, yet they haven't been able to find that answer. Now, that sense of identity, right? If you don't have it, what happens? So, if you think about career and profession is closely tied to your sense of identity, right? Because who you are. It's your it gives you your sense of as a person. So if you're able to do this, then therefore you're this. So you're going from acting, like being able to do something, to actually being something, right? And that transition seems so smoothly in a conversation, right? But yet it gets, imprinted over and over and over again that whatever you do is who you are. So
Mhm.
when it gets to a
Yeah.
point that you get burnt out and you say, I no longer want to be an account manager, a vice president, it doesn't matter who I'm no longer want to be X, Y, or Z title, right? Then who in the heck am I? I have no idea. This is what what I've been doing for years, or this is what I've learned to do. This is what I do best. This is what I can do best. I don't like it, but this is what I can do. And this is so simple to test out. So think about, like, if you go to a networking event, a party, or even just a gathering, right? And you're meeting someone. What's the first question that you ask somebody?
What do you do?
Exactly. And many times, even without, like, even if you have their name tag, or even if you know them, many times we don't even ask for the first name. It's like, what do you do? So it's immediately you're asking the person to measure themselves, engage themselves it's almost like an unconscious hierarchy of, like, okay, yeah, based on what I do, then now I'm gonna kind of measure you up. So if I tell you I'm a vice president, then unconsciously you're gonna put me here. If I tell you, oh yeah, no, I'm just a cook at McDonald's, then you're gonna probably put me over here or put me here. It also depends where you're putting yourself. So we have almost like an unconscious measure every time of other people and then ourselves. So that's why they're both closely together. And we saw this. We just seen and continue to experience that. What happened during COVID? A lot of people said, and we're talking from line workers to senior leaders, say, you know what, I'm done. I don't think this is worth it. I think I'm gonna be doing something else. And that continues, and I think we had this conversation too. We're seeing leaders that are stepping out and saying, yeah, I no longer want to do this. So those are the main challenges that I'm seeing, and they were more brought to the light with COVID. Is like, I don't know who I am. I always thought I was this because I was doing this. So yeah.
And I think the beauty, I mean, yeah, because I learned this just, a couple of years ago. It's not like I've known this forever. But the beauty of it is whenever you know who you are, then even if your job goes away, it doesn't matter because
Right.
you're not attached your
Hmm.
identity to
Hmm.
being an accountant. And if for
Hmm.
some reason they let you go, then there's people out there that they're like, but I'm an accountant, and then they just
Hmm.
cannot, if they can't find a job right away, they're lost. But in
Hmm.
reality, you're way more than just your title,
Hmm.
and I think that's where you're going, right? That's the type of identity that
That's exactly.
you
Exactly.
train. Do
Hmm.
you use core values?
Hmm.
Is that how you teach them to design or choose their
Right.
identity?
And the first question is for them to know, like, first, what is it that they want? Because that's where
What do
there's
you
going to
want?
bring some kind of awareness in terms of, like, okay, you're tired of running away and you're all already clear on what you don't want, but what is actually that you want for you? And that's probably not going to give them an immediate answer, but it's going to start asking a different question. They're already used to asking, the questions that they already asked, they have answered themselves over and over again. But just by asking the questions, they actually have to think and like, I have no idea what I want because I don't even know if I could do it or who I am or if I have the tenacity to do it. So you start bringing, putting also in question all your quality, the qualities of who you are, your sense of worth. Am I going to be able to do this? So there's a lot of questions that come into the mix. So when you start with that simple questions, like what do you want, then you can start figure out many times it always comes to freedom, peace, and happiness, right? But if you think about it, freedom, even though it sounds like a good word, is very broad. Freedom from what, to do what? And a lot of people, yeah, to do whatever I want and travel with whomever I want and do, nobody needs to tell me what to do, right? But after that is finite. So what happens after that? Somehow all those activities are gonna make you feel something, are gonna fulfill a value, something that is close and dear to you. But we just think that freedom is like this mecca, is like the mountaintop that we need to reach. And in reality, that's just something that you're gonna carry with you. So that's them. And it seems so simple, and it's a simple question that turns a lot of people many times. And many, as we were talking, some leaders are like, this conversation makes me uncomfortable because they don't know how to answer it.
Yeah. And you know
Yeah.
what, you say sometimes we have to be clever enough with our core values, like if you're
Mhm.
choosing them, because they contradict with one another.
Exactly.
Like freedom can
Hmm.
contradict with courage, because there's times where you have to step up and
Hmm.
freedom to me. And it's all based on our interpretation and our filters and what definition we're giving them. Because
Hmm.
to me, freedom would be like, if I'm in a situation where it's like, okay, freedom to me would be like, I can just walk away and it's like
Right.
whatever,
Hmm.
but and other people might think of it differently. So it's like we also have to be, yeah, I agree with you, because you have to ask questions and see where
Hmm.
they're going. Like what, like
Right.
my core values are, whenever the first time I did this exercise, it was like, okay, love, courage, creativity, and laughter. But
Hmm.
then laughter counteracts sometimes love, especially if it's a hard situation. Like, I can laugh. I'm tapping, I'm tapping into the love that I need, my
Right.
strength, because
Hmm.
that's how I want to behave. But I can
Hmm.
laugh. So it's my weakest. I mean, it's there still. I try to laugh,
Hmm.
but it's the one that contradicts courage
Right.
sometimes, because it's like sometimes when we are courage, you don't have time to laugh. You have to be serious and go after.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that's
And it
good.
also,
Yeah.
yeah, and it also depends on the context, right? Because our values will shift. We have like a main component is like our GPS, but depending on the context, like if our family, career, let's say if health and wellness, there are some of them may shift just to take that priority, so they can actually be our motivators to get what we want to get done. So there might be a shift in order depending on the environment that
As
we're in. Hmm.
yeah, as your life changes. Yeah,
Yes,
I totally
exactly.
agree. Yeah.
That as well. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you kind of advise them to deal with their challenges?
So, and this is where I don't, so, and this is just particularly me. I love, I see it as a, people have a bag of tricks, right? Every single coach has like or a set of tools. Um, and I work with different modalities. For me, I gauge the person first, right? And many times the first thing to do is just to put pause and breathe and just ask them like simple questions like, what would happen if tomorrow you were not longer this person? And what I'm doing is like, if you have a really tight grip on whoever you are, by asking those questions that I'm asking them to do is like, okay, what would happen if I actually were not to be this person? So it's to expand their mind. Is like, who would you be? Who would you really be? And if the good thing is that they don't have to give me an answer. It's just to for them to have them think, will you be able to be fulfilled, you know if you're not doing what you're currently doing or what you used to do. If you had to do if you had the chance to change something about your life right now, what would that be? And that's just to kind of get them thinking into kind of onto the creative side, because they're already thinking and remembering, oh my gosh, this is what I no longer want, so what would it be? So it's almost like shifting them. And again, it's not about getting the answers, it's just about kind of losing that tight grip of whatever you're currently living at the moment.
Mhm.
And and what the beauty of that is that many times what they think they're coming to see, or just to help, is searching for help. Many times that's not the reason why. Their thinking is because they want to find clarity and purpose. And that's another thing, right? Clarity and purpose is the number one thing people come and see, usually coaches, or nowadays is like, yeah, I want clarity and purpose. I'm all for it, don't get me wrong. It is great. But the thing with clarity and purpose is, you if you are looking to go for your purpose but you don't have a sense of self-worth or who you are, how do you know where you're going? So many times when they say clarity and purpose, I know there's a lot of layers underneath that is like,
Yes.
yeah, okay, let's start the conversation. So it's more like a conversation to see what else is underneath and actually paying attention and listening to what they're saying. Because once you start seeing, how, what they're saying, what they're truly communicating, you start to figure out, yeah, that's clarity and purpose is just, it's just what you think you want. And then by this, just by themselves, start figuring out, yeah, I have no idea who do I want to be, or who am I?
Yeah. Yeah. And it begins, I mean, you said it, it's self-love and
Hmm.
self-acceptance.
Exactly.
And we have picked up so many beliefs as we grew up that sometimes are the roadblocks from
Hmm.
us to continue to move forward. And it could
Right.
be that that's we might be, feel stuck because an old belief that we have, and we are not loving ourselves, and showing the self-worth, that that we should,
Hmm.
because we're here, we're alive.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is the thing is, when people are searching for help, and this is, we've been conditioned lately, right? Getting the dopamine activity, right? It's like, Amazon does a pretty good job doing reinforcing this. It's like you order this, the next day you have it. So the same thing applies to a lot of things in our life. Is now we got used to, like, if I want something, I'm gonna do something, or I'm gonna somehow try to get the answer by tomorrow, or get it done in 3 months, or getting done in 6 months, or getting done in a year, or in 12 sessions, or in, so. But the reality is that, yes, a lot of work can be done, in a fast paced kind of thing. But it's not like I'm gonna give you this, therefore I know after X, Y, or Z you're gonna be fixed, or everything is gonna be gone, because that's not how it works. And many times it's also having that conversation, so the same person can have the same, the same expectation, and the same more than expectation, the same standards for themselves. Is like there's nothing to fix, because if you're searching for a quick way to, for me to tell you what to do so you can apply and then get it done, it's almost like you're implying that there's something to get, to be fixed. And reality, we don't need to be fixed. I mean, life is life, and it's just how to navigate those challenges and actually empower them with the tools to actually continue navigating those challenges. Because my
Yeah.
whole point is, after they come to see me, you're good. You have the tools, so you can. Yeah, life will continue to challenge, to be challenging, because it's life. But now you have more tools that would allow you to navigate that,
I
and
like
that's
you to show up as a leader.
exactly.
Sorry.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what it is. It's like, because each day to me is like when you have to get up, wake up with, you know, choosing to
Hmm.
use those tools that serve you better to become the best leader, to,
Exactly.
you know, for you to lead you first so
Hmm.
that you can inspire, you know, if you have children, if you have a spouse, so you can inspire those around you. So
Yeah.
that is beautiful. Yeah, I see where where you're going is like, yes, it's like if you look for a coach, you know, they're not going to follow you everywhere you go and make sure that you are using the strategies and techniques that work for
Mhm.
you. We are responsible, you
Right.
know, we are responsible. That's awesome. We talked about the frustration with self-development, and you
Yes.
mentioned you mentioned some self-sabotage, and you
Hmm.
mentioned procrastination. Can
Hmm.
you please share with us what are some of the concepts that you know that we're sabotaging ourselves, or we're following into procrastination?
Yeah. So yeah, we talked about it. So for me, self sabotage and procrastination, I don't think there's such a thing as procrastination and self sabotage. It's not like you wake up every day and you're gonna decide, you know what, I'm just gonna procrastinate the whole day because this is like the best thing ever, right? Or I'm just gonna make sure I'm gonna be self sabotaging myself all the way through the day, all the way through my 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, until I'm unhappy to the bone. That doesn't happen that way, right? So it's like, what is it that the kind of the program that is running in the background? What is it that is actually leading you to procrastinate to begin with, right? What is it actually leading you to quote unquote self-sabotage, or put some other things on the way because you're avoiding something, right? So many times self-sabotaging is what you're doing intentionally, because there's a difference. If you're saying I'm self-sabotaging, is like almost you're intentionally doing it to yourself, and that's not how it works, right? Our brain, what it does is our brain is our predictor machines, right? We love to predict, and we're always looking for safety at the same time. So
Yes.
so what's happening is the self-sabotage is actually not because I'm actually going to do something against myself. It's actually I'm going to avoid something that in the past resembles something similar. I did not like it, therefore I'm just going to create certain situations to put in front of me or to avoid them, right? So but it's not until we get to what's happening in the background that we get to discover it's not your fault. Because see, self-sabotaging, it seems like, so if you think for somebody that is already feeling like they have, things are not working, and every time they do something is not working out, and then you're still like, yeah, I'm self-sabotaging myself. It's like more like more gas in the fire. It's like, yeah, you are at fault, and the reality is not that. So once we get to understand how the brain works, and we're predictor machines, we want our safety. So the question to us, like, what is it that we're avoiding, right? Oh yeah, I'm avoiding. And this question is so simple, but it's magical, because once you start asking that question, it opens a gate of the things that you're actually not wanting to do, or you're avoiding, like situations, people, experiences, because many times you already had experienced that. You have people that remind you of someone, a situation. So that's why self-sabotage is, it could be good for marketing, but I also, what I do is I teach my clients like to use another language, because the importance of language is very, the use of language is very important. So, and then with procrastination, is you're procrastinating. It's like we were talking about the simple exercise. The simplest example is it's exercise, right? Everybody wants to kind of get in shape or whatever is it that they want to do in terms of health or fitness. So if you're doing an exercise that you absolutely hate, right? Like, okay, yeah, I if the exercise of choice that I have to do is running, right? I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna not try to do that because I don't feel good. It's just uncomfortable. Not all bodies are made for running. Yet sometimes we think that's the best way to go. So for procrastination, there's always a message behind it. It's like, is there another way to do the same thing in a different way? That's how I like to see it. Because many times, or is it what you're pursuing? Is it really what you want? Because many times we're pursuing, thinking that what we want is not even what we want. It's a perfect example. Success. Success is it's a definition that is very subjective and it could look different for a lot of people, right? But when a lot of people get into like, yes, I'm gonna go ahead and do this to reach XY, this type of success, they're doing something to do somebody else's type of success, not their own. So if you don't even clear what you want, you're doing somebody else's path. You might have to do things that you actually are not aligned with you. So of course you're gonna create
Yeah.
situations to say, no, I just don't want to do it because it's not bringing me any type of fulfillment. So it's getting underneath of what's truly happening when people are avoiding what get us to the true root of procrastination and self-sabotage.
I love that. And I mean, there is such a fear of success. I mean, that is real. People that are fear of success, so they're willing to do, their brain is willing them to keep them safe, so they will not move forward with the actions that they need to take to achieve success. So they will keep, play it low. Same thing
And
with
mhm,
imposter
yeah,
syndrome.
yeah. And many times that fear, the quote unquote fear of success, let's go a layer deeper, right? Is it really that you're you know you don't want the success? Well, maybe, yeah, no, of course you want it, but it's what implicates for you to reach that, because this is what happens. We play a movie in our head like really quick, especially when it comes to success. So let's say I want to be successful. I mean, for me, successful is having X amount of dollars, doing X, Y, or Z. And consciously you already know that by reaching that, then there are relationships that are not going to continue to happen. You're going to have to do a lot of changes in your life. You're probably going to have to do things that you were doing are no longer going to be the same. Especially when it comes to relationships, many times you're going to either add relationships to your network, or maybe start separating from that. And that's another kind of, I wouldn't call it a basic need for the human, but connection is very important. Bonding is very important. So unconsciously, it's not the success that you're running away from. It's like, I don't know how to handle all these situations that are going to be created once I'm actually being able to do this. So, but the problem is that all this noise is not clear for them. What relationship are you going to have to compromise, or what things are going to change? So it's easier to say, yeah, no, it's just that I'm afraid of success. But what's underneath all that, that big statement, is because there's a lot of it underneath.
Yeah, is the association that
Yes.
we do. It could be, uh I mean, I remember before I'm gonna be honest, before I started this journey, there
Hmm.
was an author out there, that I was a fan.
Hmm.
So she files for divorce. So
Uh-huh.
how do I associate? Like if I want to write books, if I want to train people,
Hmm.
like it was my association of success was, oh my gosh, that means I'm going to have to divorce my husband. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So I went through that stage where, and I would tell him, it's like, this is how I feel.
Hmm.
And I had to be honest, but I'm like, it was just the association that I had. It doesn't mean that, I
Hmm.
don't want to divorce him. We've been together for 18 years, but that was
Hmm.
my association of success.
Right.
So yes, it is the association. Then you're like, well, I don't
Mhm.
want to do that. Then you
Like,
stop
yeah,
your
no, exactly. Yeah, and
yes.
isn't that fascinating? Is so unconscious and we don't even think about it. But this is that's how our brain works. Is like, okay, something that we're already familiar with, how we're gonna associate. Okay, so if this happens, because we're always trying to predict what's next, especially
Hmm.
in the midst of things, especially transitions, we don't know what's happening. There's uncertainty, so we're trying to, like we're grabbing every single piece of things that can bring us a little certainty. And many times are those associations that are like, oh no, I don't want that.
Yes.
Hmm.
So I love that you're talking about this because yeah, it could be the free, and I see it. It's like, and
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure you see it too
Hmm.
with our people that they're practicing self development and they're learning a new strategy and they're learning a new technique, but there is something that is doesn't allow them, and I'm going to include myself, that there's something that doesn't allow us to go farther.
Hmm.
And it is because those associations that we have, it could also be self-acceptance, that we haven't truly accept the gifts that we have, our
Hmm.
talents. There's fear. It's like there's different factors, right, with the self-development. It could be frustrated at times, but beautiful, because
Hmm.
you would do it again. I would do it again. uh, and I know a lot of my friends would do it again as well. It's just the
Right.
process of growth and just peeling, old traumas, old beliefs,
Hmm.
and go back to like self-worth, self-love,
Hmm.
self-acceptance. And it's a journey, but it's beautiful that we can see our growth and
Hmm.
share it with us. So that's
Yeah.
beautiful. Now let's move a little bit into leadership. I know you're a leadership coach as well.
Hmm.
So what is like your main message that you bring to the team?
So the main message for me, it's a leader build people up. That's what a leader is it's not about you being put in front of people, so you can actually lead them. It's actually more like putting yourself in the back so they can actually go and actually do. So it's also, your ego is completely set aside, and how to walk them through actually them acknowledging themselves that they always been leaders. So this is what people many times that don't get to realize, is that we're all leaders in some certain and in some capacity, right? Either at home, in your community, at church, you're some sort of leader, because you're some sort of guidance for that, for a person, for an individual, for a group of people. You're helping them navigate the rough waters, right? That's what a leader is. And many times we don't realize that we are in one capacity at some point in one context of our lives. We have
Mhm.
been one, or we are being one. So it's actually allow them to see themselves that it's not that they're not, but that they actually always been. And have them bring whatever it is that they're bringing in other contexts and say, okay, this is what you've done in this, and how we can actually bring those skills, the same thing, kind of map them across to to the environment they're in. Coaching people, guiding people through a process, or making tough decisions at a business level or in a corporate world. So it's a win environment, but not necessarily the win like we're gonna win in terms of results and outcomes. Yes, that's important, but also in the terms of them being able to be that guiding torch for the ones that they're following them. So that's for me, it's and I think it's kind of a big definition, but I like to have them see that they always been, because that's what is the most important thing. If we focus on the doing, tell me what to do to be a good leader. The doing can be learned, right? But I can also be forgotten, because if you don't practice, then you're thinking, well, if I don't practice this, I'm gonna forget it. And that's what happens. It happens with language, it happens with everything, right? But if
Yes.
you know that that's something that you are, you're not gonna forget it, because it's something that's in you.
Mhm.
So I that's how I see leadership, and what I like to what I bring to the table when I work with them is like, knowing, because they have a very brainy, I would say brainy, conscious definition of what leadership is, but it's not until it really sinks in that then it has a different definition for them.
I see. Yes.
Yeah.
Did you bring tools to create a belonging environment? Like, I think that's a huge content that
Hmm.
they need to dominate. Like,
Hmm.
I'm a big uh I'm going to say dreamer of like healing loneliness, and in the workplaces where we need to uh begin, because the
Hmm.
ripple effect will be bigger, because there's people out there that, I mean, they have expressed that to me, that is like they feel alone when they go home because their family don't really understand what
Hmm.
they do at work and the impact that they provide at work. And
Right.
then at work, they feel alone because there is no meaningful connections. There is not a
Mm.
belonging environment.
Right.
So, like, I am like a big dreamer
Hmm.
about healing that, because I think that's fixable. We're all human beings. We all want that connection.
Hmm.
We all want to feel loved, accepted. So, do you bring any of that material to the workplace?
I do. And I do exercise. I do, quick and simple exercises, and I call it brain exercises, right? And yes, it's good for them to write, but also it's a little bit of the I bring them back to, not only I connect the mind and body together, because this is the thing. Doing the brain exercise and help them start making associations in terms of what's working and what's not working. So, and they're fairly quickly. I mean, sometimes it can take 5-10 minutes. And the whole point of doing this is to actually let them know that, because this is the primary things. We all want to be seen, heard, and being understood. We want to be seen, we want to be heard, and we want to be understood. Those are basics, right? And many times
Yes.
when we lost that connection is because one of those are not being met, or something got caught in the middle, right? Maybe they're not being seen by their boss's boss, or they're not being seen by their team, they're not being heard, or maybe this their communication, the message they're looking to provide is not being, is not being understood by them. Or in the same thing could happen at home. So it's for them to know that yes, they're being seen, yes, they're being heard, they are being heard, and they're being understood. And if they haven't felt that way, noticing what's happening, right, for them, and also with other leaders at the same time. So it's really cool to do this in a group, because many times you're only conscious about what's happening, what the environment is doing to us, right? Like, yeah, I'm not being seen when people don't care about me, but also what's your communication to the people around you, because maybe the person is being, is projecting that off, because you're sending the same message. And the point of the exercise is not to point fingers. The point of the exercise is knowing that we're all in the same group, sharing the same thing. It's almost like, it's not a fear, but it's like it's a very vulnerable environment, and it's sharing that we all, share those three common, basic things.
Yes.
And having that type of connection is so simple, but it's almost like they drop. It's like, yeah, we're all in the same boat, in such
Yes.
a simple thing.
And trust is huge, because if you know the trust, and we want, I mean, it's like, as human beings, it's like, if we know and if we sense that there is enough trust,
Hmm.
then we're willing to open up for a relationship.
Right.
Right? It's like that trust has to be there,
Hmm.
where it's like, I am here for you.
Hmm.
uh, and you see, like, having that reciprocity, whereas, like, I think that's where being heard, seen, and understood is a
Exactly.
huge keyword.
Hmm.
Is like, where you feel that there is that reciprocity, that is not only you
Hmm.
talking or commenting, but they're commenting back. and
Right.
and that's what builds that relationship, and
Hmm.
it's so simple.
Hmm.
It's so simple. Especially if you're in the corporate world, if you work from 8 to 5, that's your family. That's your work
Mhm.
family.
Ex- That's and look, just many times, and to be quite honest, people are not spending only 8 hours a day. Sometimes they spend 8 to 10 hours, and depending on the type of job, especially if you're working with leaders, where they're really, especially senior executives, it's not 10 hours a day. It's more than that. It's being on the phone, being on calls, on important calls. So they're being pulled, always being pulled, but they're not being fed back. So many times that's what happens, is like that connection is only like a one-way street.
One
So
way,
how,
yes.
so how can we open those type of communications? And this is not to say that who's at fault, but many times it's just the pace of the environment doesn't allow that, for develop. And many times that's, when people come in, bring me in and say, okay, how can we make it sure
Yeah,
that's able and that can be opened up? How I like to say it is, it's very hard to read the label once you're inside the bottle, right? And many times,
hmm,
if you're inside the bottle, like you're in the corporate world or doing, you're already in the problem, inside the problem, it's very hard to come up with a solution.
yeah,
So it is good to bring somebody up and say, okay, I'm outside the bottle and I can actually read the label, and I can see what's happening. How can we make it happen?
yeah. Can we
Mm.
please start all over again?
Exactly.
Like, guys, I know you've been here for 5, 10 years, like, but can we please start all over
Start,
again?
yeah, yeah.
What
That's
was the
super weird.
president? Yeah, there was a American. I'm from Mexico, so I know there is a President Reagan. Uh,
Hmm.
that he said, "Can we please start all over again?" to a Russian president, and then the Cold War ended just by that simple
Hmm.
phrase. Can we please start all over again? My name is, and it's like,
Hmm.
if we could have that willingness to,
Right.
can we please start all over again? Uh, I don't know what happened. I don't know if I lost Adriana. Uh, okay. So, anyways, can you imagine that at workplace, if you've been there for years, and if we can practice was safe, the Cold War years ago, where is like American president spoke to the Russian president, and he gave him his hand. He said, "Can we please start all over again?" They shook hands, and they began a better political relationship. So, what if we can bring that to the workplace? If you feel like you've been there for so long and you might think that there is no change, what if there could be a change where you create that safe and belonging environment at the workplace? That would be amazing, because it is possible. And all begins is a trust. Whenever the American president said, "Can we please start all over again?" there was a sense of trust for them to for them to open up to our relationship. So let's just, reflect. And I don't know where you're at in the workplace, but it is time. It is time to heal loneliness. It is time to use, the simple techniques to implement the safe and belonging environment at the workplace. It could be a home as well, whatever you're at, uh, to just better relationships, because the quality of our life, and this is based on a Harvard study. They study a class that graduated, and they followed them for years. And whenever they age, they ask them, okay, uh what matter in life? Was it the degree? Was it the house? Hey, you're back.
Yes,
I,
back.
yeah, I was telling them that, like, and I know you know this, that the quality of the relationships that we have is truly what matters at the end of
Mhm.
life. It
Right.
is not like how many houses we bought, how many cars, or how many degrees we accumulate. I mean, that's
Mhm.
awesome. High five for accomplishing that.
Mhm.
But deep down, through the research, I know you're familiar with the research from Harvard. It was how many relationships, and how meaningful they were, and the
Right.
impact that we created. So
Right.
yeah.
It's the connection and the bonding, but that creates is it's it, it affects the whole body, right? It's not the neurochemical,
Yes,
everything.
yes. If you're in a stressful environment, your immune system's going to go down, your nervous system, is going to deteriorate. And
Hmm.
that's one of the things this Simon Sinek talks about. Let's create a work environment where there is the oxytocin in this, which is the happy hormone,
Hmm.
the relationship hormone, and or there is serotonin, where we're proud or we celebrate each other's wins. So before we have about 4 minutes, so please tell us, where can we find you? If there's anybody in our audience that wants to know and learn more from you, where can we find you?
Yes, I mean, I'm social media. Of course, I have my website, so I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and I have my website that I can happily share with you. And that's the easiest way to find me. I travel quite a bit, and but yet I try to be as local as possible. So I'm based in Atlanta as well, and yeah, so that's how you can how people can find me.
That's awesome. Do you have an ideal client out there, someone that has to uh, meet certain characteristics?
My ideal client is somebody that is willing to show up for themselves. Is they are willing to do the work, because this is not you do it to me, it's doing it with me, right? I'll show you, I'll start you, and it set you the guidelines, but you're doing the work. So it's somebody that will show up, is willing to do the work, and willing to be playful along the way. And I know it's very high chunk, and very it's an overarching theme, but many times clients are waiting for you to tell them what to do so they can get it done. So if you're willing to learn and willing to be vulnerable, that's my ideal client.
Yay, yes. That is awesome. You can also find us. Do you have a YouTube channel?
No, not yet.
No, yet. Okay, I have a YouTube channel, so I'll be interviewing her soon. We might work together and do some
Yes.
leadership videos in the future.
Mhm.
So you can check my YouTube channel. My name is Paola Guthrie. Uh, and is there a last message you want to share with us? We have about 1 minute left.
My last message is every human being deserves to be happy. So if at some point you feel like there's an uncomfort, just lean into it, because there's a message there for you. So the body keeps score, and our body's finite. So if your body's telling you a message, listen.
That's beautiful. I hope you
Mhm.
all found words of wisdom. I hope there was a phrase. I hope that you found a word, a piece of information that you can begin to apply into your life to become a better leader, because you are a leader of your own to lead
Exactly.
yourself, to lead yourself. Yes, yes, and inspire others.
Mhm.
So thank you so much, Adriana, for being here.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for having me.
You're so welcome. Thank you all very much for listening to us today. This show can also be heard in Spanglish Radio Network. Please check spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Love you all and blessings. We'll see you later.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.